3 between Huck and Apocalypse. Spawning over here in the top right-hand position as the red Protoss, it is Evil Genius's Huck. And his opponent in the bottom left-hand corner, the blue Terran, is IVD Apocalypse. Some Apocalypse fans, some Huck fans. I saw a sign up for Huck. So,
I'm a Huck fan. He's my...
Your homeboy? No? He's not your homeboy?
No. Well, Huck is not my homeboy, but he is my favorite Canadian player left in the tournament.
Oh. How nice of you. Of course, Scarlet is the other Canadian player that is not left in the tournament. So, very accurately said, Mike. I appreciate that. Now, we'll see what these players have up their sleeves. Now, Blink is definitely a good possibility on this map. I've seen that work out a lot of times. You can see how the supply depot, the barracks, and the other supply depot that goes right here juts out a lot. Stalkers on the low ground over here are so good at just killing everything up there. They can blink into the main over here and also over here.
And you know what else you can do? You can force field that ramp from the low ground with a sentry.
Yeah, that's true.
I almost never see this, but it's possible. This is actually the map, though, that I see Protoss players cheese on the most out of any map. Maybe it's just because I watch a smaller sample size of PVT in this matchup, but I've seen a lot of cheeses coming down. Proxy Stargates, Proxy Robos, Blink Allins.
Well, we'll see if this cheese is found out right now. Huck in a good position to actually catch this. Now, a supply depot should be going down directly after this, and Orbital Command Center is on the right time, so Apocalypse is making this look like it's completely standard play. As you can see, a Marine popping out of here. Now, a lot of times it is important. I don't know if Huck was able to see it or not, but when you see the Marine being produced immediately, you say to yourself, well, my opponent probably is going Marines, not Reapers in the beginning stage, because you can't produce a Reaper immediately once the barracks is finished. I mean, the builds just make it so that you don't have the ability to do that. You don't have enough gas to do that. So he could have seen that, and of course you need to check if a Marine is coming up directly behind that. But double barracks production, is this going to be an SCV all-in?
I don't think so. Usually you don't make an SCV pull unless you proxy the barracks. At least, if it is, it'll be a mid-game timing, not an early game timing.
Oh.
When I see this style, usually they just want to get out a quick stim and some Marauders and some Marines. It's kind of metagaming to some extent against a Protoss all-in, I think. Because it's so difficult to put in pressure once the Protoss has a Mothership Core now, even with a double barracks play, that the openings this is best against is any kind of cheese from the Protoss.
Well, you know, I kind of like this in the beginning stage. The SCV scout actually saw, yes, PF or Planetary Nexus stuff can shut this down, but you always have to look at when the Mothership Core is coming out here. And when he sees that there is no Mothership Core for a very long time, he knows that there's some sort of timing that exists right now, and he's pushing out. I like this 6 Marines going around. 5 Marines gives you enough to kill a probe in one shot. So 6 Marines will just be that entrance to give you the ability to, as soon as a Marine dies, you're still able to do that good damage.
And he's sneaking around off Huck's units. And this could be kind of troublesome for Huck if this Marines get into his base before Stalker and Zealot are back. He only has a Mothership Core, and it doesn't have a foot in overcharge now. And 6 Marines, that can kill a lot of probes.
Gateway going down. A lot of gateways going down, actually. 3 in total. Actually, it's very standard. Pylon going to be hit first. And the Mothership Core taking a lot of damage. Probes being pulled off. Time Warp going down. Hopefully the Marines will be sandwiched over here. And oh my goodness, a great split right there. He was able to mine into the field over on the other side and then just attack all the Marines at the same time, enabling him to defend against that without taking a lot of casualties. A nice defense from Huck.
Even with the split, though, I think he lost about 5 to 6 workers. I don't know if you can check.
6 workers lost.
Yes, that's still a pretty good trade for Apocalypse, in my opinion. It was only 6 Marines, and we can kill 6 probes with 6 Marines. I think you're feeling pretty happy with that.
The one thing, though, like, you can't just look at it like that. You have to look at where the tech is. I mean, Apocalypse is giving up a lot of tech behind this because of how much he invested in the early game stages. Yes, he has a little bit of a push power in the beginning stage, but once you see that many Marines being committed in the beginning stage, it's kind of like, okay, well, I kind of know exactly what you're doing. I know what you're capable of, and from here, Huck has perfect vision, or at least perfect like expectations of his opponent.
Yeah, it just kind of evens up the game to some extent because of Apocalypse's kind of less economic opening. But I feel like you can't expect to get more than 5 to 6 workers with that push.
I agree.
I think it's the best situation for his push, but obviously it doesn't put him in much of a lead because he delayed his command center a lot to go for that.
As it stands, income tab showing 31 to 28 harvesters, an economic advantage so far for Apocalypse. As you can see, the income tab, the mules definitely coming into effect there. Observer is gonna live. That's actually a very nice pickoff if you're able to get that, but Huck getting in and seeing the infrastructure is so important. The fact that his opponent is on 3 barracks, 2 of them are completely naked in terms of add-ons, that actually tells you, okay, my opponent isn't really getting all the essential upgrades that fast, going for the factory directly after this. It's 8 minutes and 33 seconds. I can see how much of an effect that push in the beginning phase has affected them. And from here, I think Huck can just say, I'm completely safe. Anything that tries to hit me, I shouldn't really be worried based on the upgrades.
And what I like about Huck's play is he gets a lot more gateway units out early game than some Protoss players these days. Instead of just rushing immediately to that tech, he gets a decent amount of units to defend these kind of pokes with no problem. And a lot of the time you'll see him catching a lot of bio with some nice force fields and then killing it because he has enough units early on.
Combat Shield has just finished, so here's the big burst. And I agree. I mean, a lot of Terrans are just getting so cheeky, right, with their early game units and just saying, well, you know, I can do anything because you literally have a Stalker and a Sentry to defend at home. But Huck is just against that meta grain, and that's why he's able to a lot of times get big advantages in the early stages. But so far, just taking a look at the infrastructure of Apocalypse, just getting on his starport, normal time to actually have your medevacs finished is 9:30. So he has it a lot later because of that early pressure, but he had 6 probes because of that. In Huck's position, he is going Colossus. And now, normally you will have a Colossus out, approaching a second one by now, 10 minutes into the game. You almost have your second Colossus, so you can see how it's affected Huck as well. So as you said, everything's just delayed a little bit more.
Yeah, and I like how actively Huck's been scouting with his observer. A lot of Protosses make 2 to 3. He's made 1, which is a bit less than is common, but he's made incredibly good use of it. He's flown around the entire main in the natural, seen everything, scouted that 3rd base, and now he's just moving around the map and looking for units with it.
I mean, this is something that I'm actually very impressed with. We saw this on Belshir Vestige, just his control with the observers, and that might seem silly, but we've seen games with Innovation losing like 20 observers, literally 20 observers, and that's definitely, or not Innovation, goodness gracious. Well, he was the Terran that would kill like 20 observers. Tasia, the same way, kills just so many observers. And sometimes I would say, yeah, Terran's doing a great job at making sure they're dead. But other times, I actually think that it's just an incredibly lackluster performance with the observer control of the Protoss.
Yeah, a lot of the time now it's common just to make an observer and then send it to a position and let it sit there and spot for units, but I like how active he's been with his. And this push, though, it's catching him off guard. All of his units are on the other side of the map.
Yeah, and this can do a lot of damage, now killing a couple Marines, but a Colossus pops out at the perfect time, just shredding every single one of these units, and now doing damage to the 3rd base. Units lost tab looking pretty nice for Huck as it stands, and denying this 3rd, and especially denying the orbital command center actually helps out so much. Now, the center of the map normally is a big place where Terran has the advantage, but all of a sudden it's switched around, and Huck is the one that says, I have the better concave, I have the positioning, and Apocalypse is not able to utilize this map in full efficiency.
He even denied the command center from working in an orbital before he forced the lift.
Yeah.
So it's not giving him any extra income right now.
Yeah, at least if you have the orbital command center, it's going to be able to accrue energy. You can get your minerals a little bit later, but now everything's just not looking good for Apocalypse 4. Vikings will enter the field. That's going to help out a little bit, but it's just going to deter his opponent while Huck equalizes or even gets ahead in economy for now. So things look good for Huck. Apocalypse is going to give a little bit of chase, but he needs to be careful because this is such a flimsy army so far. Going to just turn it around and try to engage against this, but no.
Not many medevacs out for him now either.
Oh, no.
2 medevacs.
And a great engagement for Huck yet again, except one of the Colossus might go down here. Viking gets traded out. But still, I would say overall a good engagement for Huck. Now Orbital Command Center was landed on the top left-hand corner and made into an orbital. Or at least the command center from before. Salvage bunkers, it's a little bit risky based on how behind you are with a Viking count, but it's a kind of a good read because there is a Templar switch. Do we have a Ghost Academy out for the Terran player? Doesn't look like he is. He's supply capped as well. And Apocalypse will be running into a situation where he's massing up all these units and he will not be able to do anything with them because of how far behind he is with his composition. You need to have Ghosts out to be aggressive now. If he tries to be aggressive, he's just going to be so cost inefficient, giving Huck a bigger advantage. Huck in a great position now, needs to take his 5th and 6th gases, but Apocalypse, what I like about him is he says, I'm behind. What can I do to get back into this? And what he does is drops and also takes 2 bases at the same time. And that's just going to give him the ability to materialize his resources into something of value, so that a little bit later on he's going to be able to just overwhelm Huck.
Yeah, it'll definitely give him a nice lead if he can get that 4th base up and saturated, but it's not going to give him much of an advantage for at least a couple minutes from now. And in the meantime, we see the game has entered a pretty even position right now. It's kind of just a defensive posture from both players. Apocalypse, I think he wants to add on some more barracks sometime soon and start pumping out a lot of bio and ghosts. I think he should add at least 2 more barracks after his 4th base is up.
One thing we have to mention is the upgrades. If you look at Huck's upgrades, 1-0, 2-0 on the way. Against the 2-1 of Apocalypse, this is definitely a position where Apocalypse might want to take the fight, although the army size is still pretty small. So to do that against High Templars, I mean, you can get a concave, but it really doesn't matter because it's just 1 deep, or 1 unit deep, or not even that big of a concave. So this is a very stressful situation for both players. Observer going to be taken out. Nicely done by Apocalypse. Just attention to detail there. SEVs will be traded over to the 4th base that's turned into a planetary nexus, or a planetary fortress. Jesus. And it looks like that was just sharking. I mean, you're just moving around the map trying to do something, but nothing going to really come of that. Blink on the way. And we still don't have any armor upgrades, Mike.
No, not yet, but he just did add a 2nd forge not very long ago, so I think we'll see him starting his armor upgrades shortly. And it's still okay for him, as long as he can display a bit defensively, land some nice side storms in the fight, he can still trade evenly with his bio.
Well, he's gonna need to. He actually backs up all the way. +3, +1 are going to be research right now. Is this a position where you think Protoss should just wait until you have at least +2 armor, take a 4th base, and go from there? Or do you want to be committing? I mean, what is Huck's goal right now?
I think he just wants to play defensive, get his upgrades underway, take a 4th base, and only attack if he gets an opportunity. If he gets a good fight near his base, land some incredible side storms, then you take the fight and you go for it. But I don't think he wants to be doing that unless he sees a golden opportunity. Just because, like you said, his upgrades are behind the Terran. And now that there's Ghosts in the field, he can't utilize his High Templar as well aggressively as he would be able to.
It's almost like Apocalypse went the perfect response given this situation. I mean, getting the quick 4th base, even though, you know, your 3rd was lifted for so long.
It was a calculated risk.
Yeah.
Because if that 4th base gets canceled, then he's kind of thrown away his attempt to catch back up. So.
Or even if Huck kept up with upgrades in the beginning stage, which, by the way, is pretty hard given the circumstances and, of course, the pressure that he wanted to commit with the early Colossus. But if he went and kept up with upgrades, I mean, you would see Huck being a lot more active, I think, in this stage of the game. But there is a big push out. Apocalypse is just about maxed. Huck is maxed right now. And you have big spreads by both these players. High Templars all around the map. We're going to see what happens. Huck has an observer in a nice spot. He will get a storm down.
Not too much damage. Does damage the Vikings a bit though, and that's kind of nice.
And it looks like he's just aggressing up. Snipes. No, he's not going to. Yeah, he's going to go for the snipes there. Oh, nice time warp on top of all the ghosts. And this is going to be the commitment. And the ghosts aren't going to be able to get out, or at least not all of them. Colossus taking a lot of damage, and it looks like this might not be enough units. Oh my god. Well, one of the Colossus, the last Colossus does go down, and yes, Marines and Marauders just pushing forward. Where's the High Templar count for the Protoss player? 1 Colossus will get here, and the Viking count has thinned out, so again, oh my gosh, back and forth. I think Huck will be able to defend here, and yes, he will, blinking directly underneath. Medivacs boosting out. Will he get out in time? It looks like yes. Wow, that was a very close fight.
And now that he's won that fight, though, I think that puts Huck in an incredibly good position. His fourth base finishing and taking out every single Viking. I think that puts him in a nice spot because Apocalypse is only on 1 starport.
It does, but he's not out of the woods yet. I mean, it's still an upgrade deficit for Huck. 3-2 against 1-3 or 3-1. And that armor upgrade is very important as you move on into the later stages. If your zealots aren't nearly as tanky, it affects you. If your stalkers aren't nearly as effective, it hurts you quite a bit. So Apocalypse, don't count him out. Yes, I do think Huck has a slight advantage, but I think Apocalypse can still salvage this. I mean, it all comes down to the engagements, right? And on Derelict Watcher, I feel like Terran can normally get the better engagements than the Protoss. Vikings on top of these chasms over this artifact thing in the middle of the map. Again, over here. And even over in this area, killing 4th bases and 5th bases, your Viking positioning is vital, and you can normally protect them without even having to worry because of the map layout. So Apocalypse still has a lot of chances.
Yeah, he definitely has a lot of chances. I think Huck, though, he set himself up pretty nicely. He has a couple cannons at his 4th base. It'll be difficult to medevac drop over there. And now as his upgrades are finishing up, do you think it's even if he has the +1 shields and the +2 armor against the 3-3?
Wait, say again? I'm sorry.
If these 2 upgrades for Huck finish, the shield upgrade and the armor, do you think it's even upgrade-wise?
No.
Or do you need the +3?
You need +3 armor for sure. Because shields take just full damage from everything. You have base 0.
Yeah, from the EMPs, obviously they'll get wiped out. But still, most of these going to be focusing his ghost on the Templar, not on the army.
But assuming Apocalypse just EMPs everything at least once, I mean, that's still per EMP. You're looking at 350, 400 damage being done just by a single EMP on shields. So it's a lot of times very important to actually catch all of those units in there. Let's take a look at the units tab because that's an important thing. 9 Ghosts to 11 High Templars, 4 Colossus out in the field. But look at this Viking count. It's rather small.
Yeah, it definitely is small. Big drop going down in that base of Huck, though. And Apocalypse is going to move into the 4th at the same time.
Yes, he is. And he's in the perfect position. Now he needs to be careful because High Templar is right in front. Snipes go down. Nicely done by Apocalypse, killing off the cannons. Where's the rest of the army? It's straggling in, but I don't know if it's going to be enough. Ghosts are going to be taken out in the very front. Cloak is going to be initiated, and there are no observers! Where are the observers of Huck? Everything just getting annihilated because of the ghosts. The Ghost able to do good damage against all of the Stalkers, all on the Colossus. Still, no further units, no further observers, rather. Apocalypse going to back up with everything except his Ghosts, and now finally the first observer gets in here. And we'll be able to eliminate those Ghosts. That's big losses for both sides, I would say. Losing all the Colossus and losing all the Ghosts.
The Vikings,
and the Vikings, that's true. But the Viking count was pretty flimsy.
It was kind of flimsy. It was only about 4, but now it'll take him even longer to build up to that Viking count he wants.
That's true.
I guess I call it about an even trade for both sides. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Well, this helps out. Losing 2 medevacs in the mid right-hand position. Huck's in a little bit more comfortable place. He needs to make sure he can keep his 4th base location. If he loses that, that's pretty much game over, just economically speaking. And Stalker's getting caught out of position once again. All of them will go down. A nice storm will pick off a medevac, but that's about it. Observer again over the army of Apocalypse, and just more and more units streamlined in across the map trying to do damage. I'm still worried though. If we look at the units tab, it's 3 Ghosts, that's it, and only 3 Vikings out in the field, and we were talking about it.
Also, he only has 2 medevacs, so if Huck can land some nice side storms, he's not going to be able to heal up his units that well.
I'm looking for extra starports, maybe that went down. There it is. Okay, so he is on two starport production, or if you want to look at it, 4 starport production. So it's not all too low there.
Yeah, it's definitely not too low. He's just been losing a lot of Vikings and some medevacs though. And even though he's has pretty much constant Viking production, I haven't seen him build any medevacs in quite a while.
How do you feel like who has the advantage right now? I'm kind of
I'd give it
at
to
a loss.
Huck's he is at a supply deficit of about 30 or 40, but he has a pretty good High Templar count. You see he has a nice spread of 3 of them in front of his natural, and all of them have full energy. And there's only 2 medevacs, so if Huck can just play defensively and land some side storms, it's going to do a lot of damage, and the storms are count for so much more, considering that low medevac count.
War Prism gonna sprint into the main base. There are no turrets over there, but there is a single ghost that just pops out at the perfect time.
Huck needs to move these extra High Templar up to that base, though. He has 3 High Templars full energy, and those could be instrumental in this fight.
I think so. As the storm is brewing, Ghosts will be in front, but I don't think there's enough Ghosts here, and even the Viking County is going into a really tough situation. Actually, both these players. And we might have the attack. High Templar still underneath all those Colossus. Is there going to be that EMP? Doesn't look like there is enough, and Ghosts are down. That means the Storms are up, but there might not be enough enough gateway units, as there's just so many Marines and Marauders. High Templar is not able to storm out because they don't have enough energy. The 4th base of Huck being taken out, and that is a crushing blow to Huck.
Yeah, I think he just forgot about this full energy High Templar yet, but his 3rd base. Because I think if you have this 2 full energy High Templar, that's another like 6 Side Storms he has up there.
Yeah, I mean, that is a big DPS change, especially with how low in health all those Marines and Marauders are. And still, is it only 2 medevacs? Yeah, only 2 medevacs out in the field. So, as you were saying before, Ghost User, if there's a double feedback, all of a sudden, you're looking really, really good, because those units cannot heal at all. That means they die so fast, and they don't have that sturdiness, that durability that we normally expect from Bio.
Yeah, but now after that fight Apocalypse, it looks like there's no way to beat him. He's on 5 bases,
Yep.
He has an enormous lead, and he has a lot of ghosts now. So I think it's going to be tough sailing for Huck at this point.
I do too. I mean, Huck at this point just, not that he was being aggressive before, but he absolutely cannot be aggressive now. This is a situation where he needs to take the most cost-efficient fights now he can, because Apocalypse was kind of empowering him with the amount of medevacs that he has. I mean, only 3, I think, out on the field right now, so AoE can definitely come into this, into effect here. But we'll see.
I don't know, though.
Yeah,
this doesn't have much to defend these Colossi.
61 supply to 133. Army count, 200 to 94 supply. 8,000 minerals, 2,000 gas. And it looks like it's a one-sided fight, ladies and gentlemen. Apocalypse, he's going to be your man to move on. GG.